Can y'all see that?
Yes. And by the way, I will also be recording. That way we have this info session on our website. And for future Dust Devils who are interested.
Okay. If I open up the chat, can you all see it? No, right? Like on my cool. Are y'all ready to start?
Yes, I'm ready whenever y'all are.
Okay. Low-key nervous. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and start. Thank you everyone who decided to join us today for our presentation. I and everyone here with me, Joelle, Rebecca, and Ms. Lopez, really appreciate y'all being here. I see some orientation leaders, some group members, and if you're not part of those organizations, I am really happy that y'all decided to join us today. So I think just overall, our presentation, we will be talking about student affairs and what it is about. And if you have some idea of it, we can extend on that. Or if you have no clue on what this is, hopefully this is a new learning opportunity for you to, I guess, just learn a new aspect. And if you have any questions, we are here. So anytime you have any questions, you can leave it with the chat. And in case I don't see it, Becca or Joelle will go ahead and interrupt me. And then we can go ahead and answer any questions that you may ask. But as of right now, we're going to go ahead and start. So I guess my name is Cecilia Castillo, and I'm going to let the others introduce themselves right now. Just say their names. Well, actually, hold on. If I move... Okay, not yet. Well, anyways, I'm here with Rebecca Rodriguez and Joelle Caballero, but they're going to introduce themselves in a bit, and Ms. Lopez. So I guess our outline for today, this is how our presentation will go ahead and look like. We are doing introductions, which we're going to go ahead and get started right now. And then we're going to go into more about student affairs, what exactly it means. We're going to explore the career opportunities that you can have when entering student affairs. We're also going to talk about grad school. And then at the end, we're just going to talk about the NUFP program, which is what ultimately we're here for, and for you to learn more about the program so you can potentially become a member if you're interested. So I'm going to pass it on to my friend, Rebecca.
Cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Rebecca, but call me Becca. So just a little bit about me. I am a senior majoring in business administration. I'm heavily involved on campus, so I am a part of Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority Incorporated. And in my sorority, I hold the positions of VP of Marketing and the Baby Panther Program Chair. I am the Campus Activities Board Executive Vice President. I was an orientation leader for the past 2 years. I am an international student mentor. I was the first chapter president for the National Society of Leadership and Success. I am a NASPA NUFP fellow. I was a 2020 Golden Circle Award recipient, and I recently just got the 2021 NASPA Undergraduate Award at our conference. So yeah, and then I'm just gonna tell you all why I am doing student affairs. So kind of little background of like how my journey started. So I came to TAMU as an accounting major. And then as you'll see, I got involved on campus. My first actual involvement was becoming an orientation leader. Fun fact, I was never involved in anything when I first got the position. And I just like loved helping students and being that support system for them. And I didn't know I could make like a career out of it or study something that involves that. And that's what ultimately student affairs is to me. And like how I would describe it is a service for students. And we'll elaborate more on like how that started. But the person who encouraged me is actually my mentor, Dr. Hudson. And we'll talk about how like you can pick your own mentor for this program. But I'll go ahead and pass it on to, I believe it's Joelle.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? So thank y'all all for being here. And just an FYI, if y'all do want to share y'all's screen, y'all can. I like talking to y'all's faces, but it's completely y'all's choice. I am a senior, so I'm going to be expected to graduate this May 2021. Woo, thank God. So my major is multidisciplinary studies. I fall under the University College. I was always heavily involved on campus from the very beginning. I credit a lot of my work and my experiences to Greek life. So a little bit about me, I joined Omega Delta Phi National Fraternity on campus, one of the two fraternities on campus. I've been a member now going on, I want to say 3 years, actually, no, going on 4 years. I picked up some leadership roles, which then snowballed me to, be Greek Council president from the past 2 years. I currently am an intern for the Office of Student Orientation, Leadership, and Engagement. I was a former orientation leader, as well as I had the opportunity to work as a Move Texas Fellow. It's a grassroots organization to help with voting rights and voting registration. And I am a NUFP fellow. So a little bit about student affairs, why I joined. It really just kind of happened by accident. I got involved in organizations and picked up all these leadership opportunities, and we're definitely able to be a part of conversations to help the student body. And ever since then, I just grew a huge passion for student life. So that's really why I just chose it. And now I was able, like how Becca said, I didn't know that I can make a career out of it. And I'm actually looking into going across the nation to Boston. Hopefully I get word of that. So thank God for being here. And I'll pass it to Ceci.
Yeah. Okay, so hi everyone. Once again, my name is Cecilia Castillo, and I am a I am a senior majoring in bilingual education. But y'all can just call me Ceci. And then my involvement included, I was also an orientation leader for 2 years. I was the student engagement coordinator at the Seoul office. So that was I worked there for 2 years. I am currently in CAB, and I currently hold the VP of Public Relations position. So I handle the social media of CAB. And I recently just joined my sorority, which is Sigma Delta Lambda Sorority Incorporated. And I'm also a NUFP fellow. But throughout my time here, I didn't put all of my involvement because then the list goes on and on and on. So I think that's just a little bit about me and why student affairs. I think the common thing that you'll see with us the most, and mainly overall student affairs professionals, is that you join this career spontaneously. Like no one plans on growing up and saying, I want to be a student affairs professional. Like you all don't even know what that is, right? So I entered TAMU just being a naive freshman. I didn't want to be there. I was not involved until initially my passion for student affairs started to grow. Once I became a student worker at the Seoul office, that's where I started learning more and becoming more involved. And actually I was introduced to student affairs by Miss Jasmine. She was a former worker at the Seoul office. And then she's like, hey, she started giving me more projects, and I started working with students. And I think I just realized like my passion for helping students overall. So I think that relates to my major, which is education. So not only helping students, but I think I found myself working more with college students overall. That's just where I fit more. I felt more comfortable. I can relate to them more. And I just found myself looking into that career and fitting there. So now I'm going to take that a step further. So I actually got accepted into the Texas A&M SAHI program, which is a master's program for student affairs in higher education. So I'm going to be there in August. So if you have any questions on grad school, we're going to go ahead and talk about that in a moment. So this is just like a reflection type of a question, or just start to getting things, conversation started. So what exactly is student affairs in your own words? If anyone wants to take a guess and educate a guess, or just throw in a few words in the chat of what you kind of think student affairs is, please go ahead and feel free to put in the chat or unmute. So from what you have gotten, from what we have said, what do you think exactly student affairs is? Sharon said engagement, interaction. Yeah. Anyone else? Just one more, then we can continue. The teacher and me. I'm like, who else? Involvement from members within the student body. Yeah, provide assistance to students. I think Daisy kind of hit it on the spot, providing assistance to students. So according to NASPA, student affairs is a critical component of the higher education experience. So not only that, it's just made up of professionals dedicated to supporting the academic and personal development of individuals attending college or university. So what I like to kind of put it in my own words is kind of like the a second educational piece that college or the university provides. So here at TAMU, we like to say during orientation, we say go beyond the classroom, meaning get involved, do a lot of things. Why? Because you get to learn and experience and gain opportunities, just how Joel and Becca and I got. We gained a lot of leadership skills. We were heavily involved. We have mentors now that helped us and guide us through this process and just helped us develop overall. So I like to say, sum it up, student affairs is all about student development, personally and professionally. So it's not only just about working with students. Yeah, shout out to Ms. Lopez and Dr. Hudson, but he's not here. It's also about building supportive and inclusive environments. Student affairs is also heavily involved with social justice. We look at students, mainly underrepresented students. So for example, the Latinx community, most student affairs professionals work within several offices. So here at TAMU, we have a smaller group of offices. So we have SOUL, which is student orientation, leadership, and engagement. We have SKI, which is community service. We also have recruitment. We have the career services office. But in other universities, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So I'm not going to go into very much details, but I'm going to, for example, at A&M, there is the family and orientation program. There is an office just for multicultural services. There's an office just for LGBTQ plus people. There's a lot of offices just mainly focusing on underrepresented student populations. So most student affairs professionals want to work with students and help them bring a voice or have a voice or just gain overall confidence and make them feel safe in the space that they are in. So it's all about just helping students overall. That's kind of what student affairs is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Becca to learn more about what careers you can have in student affairs.
Cool. Okay, I'm just like waiting for it to load on my end. Okay, awesome. So some focus areas in student affairs is policy and advocacy, student success, health, safety and well-being, financial wellness, equity, inclusion and social justice, career and workforce development, international education, leadership, counseling. The list goes on and on. And I think what's really cool about student affairs is that like with this type of field, your job is like never boring. It's always something different every day. And these are just some of the focus areas of student affairs, but like within student success, you have like different elements. And then like within leadership, you have different elements. So you can find a lot of career opportunities. And like me, a business major, like if I still wanted to continue the path of like doing student affairs with something in business, like I could literally work at like the financial aid office or like financial wellness, like how I mentioned here. So I think that what's cool about student affairs is regardless of your major or what you're studying right now, you can be a student affairs professional. And that's what I was scared of when going into it. I was like, my gosh, I'm almost done. Like, there's no way I can do this. And I learned that, like, literally, whatever major you are doing, you can be a student affairs professional. So these are just some of the career opportunities, but you can find so much more. And I'll pass it to Joelle.
Okay, so it's waiting for it to load. Here it is. So, do you think you are a student affairs professional? Would anybody like to join in, or really, do you think you participate in any organizations or work that really identifies as student affairs? Would anybody like to share? Crickets.
I can also put in the chat.
Thank you, Nana. So orientation for sure. So for the ones that don't know, Annabelle Contreras, or she goes by Nana, she's actually an orientation leader coordinator within the Office of Student Orientation, Leadership, and Engagement. Thank you for that answer. Yes, so orientation is a large part of student affairs, right? So our office, right, the Office of Student Orientation, Leadership, and Engagement, the soulmates, right, they work directly with just orientation. We work on many other components like leadership and engagement, right? So I know we have a lot of people out here that are Greek. Would any Greek member like to say is, do you think that's within student affairs? No, no. Well, then actually, yes, it is, right? So we have a small, we're a little smaller on campus, but at other larger institutions like, for example, A&M College Station, where they have 5,600 students that are within Greek life, right? They actually have their own center strictly devoted to Greek life, as well as every like many other campuses. So Greek, is a very, very large component with the student affairs as well. So thank y'all for sharing.
Can I add on?
Go for it. Go for it.
It doesn't, even if you're just simply in a student organization, that's already student affairs. If you participated in a leadership program, that's already student affairs. It's just anything that you're doing. Sharon, now I'm convinced I want to do student affairs. Yeah, I think that's how everyone starts. Like you are just literally involved, and then people introduce like, hey, like, did you know this could be a career? And you're like, really? And it kind of just takes time for you to think and say, huh, maybe this is what I want to do. Because I was so set on being a teacher for like my whole life. As in elementary, I was like, I'm gonna be a teacher. I majored in teaching, and then now I'm like, no, psych, I'm gonna be in higher education. So that's how it just happens. That's how life is. So thank you all for sharing. So I think even y'all just being here, you're already in student affairs in my heart. Next up is grad school. We're going to talk about grad school, and this is how y'all probably feeling for seniors or juniors. You're like, no. I remember when I was, me and Becca and Joelle were right now when we were doing this grad school, we're like, no. Like, cannot be happening. Adult life. So I'm going to pass it on to Joelle. Back to Joelle, right?
Yes. So a really interesting thing, that I've learned about grad school, right? So everybody is like, no more school, no more education, right? However, what I've noticed looking at higher education programs, they can actually be a lot of fun. Of course, entering this field, many times it is required that you have a master's in higher education student affairs. And just to clarify, like I said, is your undergrad can really be anything you want, right? So I was over here thinking, oh, these professionals like Dr. Hudson, he has his doctorates, in higher education. And I was like, well, in order for people to be in these type of positions, they have to have some type of experience in the classroom, right? I thought a lot of my mentors, a lot of people that I've met were started off as teachers at first, but that's actually completely wrong. So that's one thing. But a large component about getting your master's in higher education is a lot of times they offer assistantship. And assistantships means is you can really, if you do your research and you're willing to travel, you can find really a master's program for almost for free. What I mean by that. So an assistantship is a paid position while completing your undergrad curriculum. So usually you're a part-time professional within one of the offices you are able to interview for, depending on which campus there is. And again, it has multitude of offices and many different options. Like you can work in Greek life, directly helping with programs and different initiatives. You can even work with resident life. Being an RA or even an administrator within resident life is a huge component too, right? As well as even like any student activities office. So there's a couple of examples. And then a lot of times while you're completing your master's program, and I'm pretty sure Ms. Lopez can agree with this, is you can actually have a large possibility to transition to full-time with either in your office or when working with other professionals. You can definitely, they might say like, hey, it might be in between your program as a master's, or it might be right after. They might say, hey, come on, join us full-time. I think that's a really, really great opportunity. And a lot of times, really the program, you just really learn about student development in many different areas. So some tips for really applying for this program is right, like in your personal statement and going to grad school, you have to sell yourself, right? Do not be shy to really show how much you've done on campus or even off campus too with working during your collegiate career. When it comes to your references, you always ask close mentors, someone who has really seen you grow. I've had the opportunity to work with many different faculty, but I asked the ones that knew me best. So I reached out to Dr. Hudson. I had the pleasure working with Ms. Lopez for some time and still do, right? As well as even working with Ms. Jackie, the Associate Director of Alumni Relations. She is Omega Delta Phi's primary advisor. So reaching out to them and seeing how they were able to offer to give insight on how much I changed and grown while going to the program definitely helped me out. Really show engagement, right? So regardless, you definitely want to be a part of a lot of things. And it's also not only for the master's program, but it's good for yourself, right? It's definitely a good opportunity, a good experience for you to get your feet wet in orientation, student organizations, and whatever your passions are for. Always start in advance. I didn't do that. I have an interesting story, but that's another time. But I should have started a long time ago, right? So definitely submit your FAFSA early, like super, super early, as soon as it opens up. Do not wait. Okay, so ask for your references early in advance, work on your application, do all your research in advance. Because a lot of times, it can be kind of how do I say overwhelming when you're trying to figure out which program you're looking for. And again, also research the programs. So there's many higher education master programs. There are some online, there's some are hybrid, there are some in person. And really, just depending on the go-ins, what I mean by research is look up the curriculum, look up your degree plan, see what classes you're going to be taking, see if you're like, I want to take more classes about social justice issues or multiculturalism. It just really depends on the program itself, right? And the big thing that Ms. Lopez and Dr. Hudson has always taught Ceci, Becca, and I is to be authentic, right? Make sure to be yourself. A lot of times, again, you are working with students that are older, and they're around our age, and students that are completely have a different, diverse background. You don't want to be somebody that's really, that's not yourself. You want to be authentic, and a lot of times, human connection is very important when working with these kids. So yeah, so that's a little bit some details and tips about grad school. Does anybody have any questions so far? Comments, concerns,
Can I add
curiosity?
something?
Go for it, Becca.
So like Joelle has on here is like, don't wait. And I waited too. I was like, nah, I don't know. Like I was still indecisive and it's important not to wait because a lot of programs close early. They close like right away or as soon as like the year starts. Or like Ceci and I, when we applied to a program, it literally closed like December 1st. So like they close right away. Um, I guess also a tip that I have like for grad school is like me, I'm very family oriented and like I wanted to stay in Texas. And right now I'm looking at Nova Southern Eastern University in Florida, like 15 minutes away from Miami. Like it's important to like be open-minded and like explore opportunities outside of Texas. I learned that. And like Joelle mentioned, be your authentic self because when I interviewed for a program, they were like, we know if you're being fake. Like they can tell right away. Like if you're trying to put on this facade of like the perfect person and like it's okay not to be this like ideal picture perfect person because that's what makes you you. And so just always be yourself because they can tell. So even if you try not to, they're going to know that you're not yourself. So I just wanted to add that in there.
I'm just gonna echo whatever Joel and Becca said. Over right in the meantime, when the slide loads up, I guess another tip for me is to really research. Like I can't emphasize enough, research the programs because there's a lot of components that each program may have. So, for example, anyone familiar with A&M because well, obviously I'm no one going there, but like they have a paid assistantship. You have to do 2 internships. So meaning during my time there, I can go ahead and apply anywhere in the United States. So I can go ahead and maybe do my internship in Salem University or in DC or in Florida or in California. Like so student affairs allows you to travel a lot. And just if you're that type of person that always likes to change or likes to experience new things, I noticed that there's a NASPA conference going on right now. So a lot of NASPA student affairs professionals, when they introduce themselves, they have a map of where they have been. So they're like, I worked here in Florida, but then I stayed there for 2 years. So then I moved up. I went to a director position, and then I went to Boston, and then I went to California. So they're like all over the map. So if that's something you're interested in, student affairs can really provide that for you. And you can correlate that with your research when doing your grad school research. So, but just moving on, what did Ms. Lopez say? With student affairs, you can work anywhere in the world. Yeah, anywhere, and I mean anywhere. And apply those skills in whatever position you may want or are seeking. So, in your own words, what is the NUF program? So, you're probably wondering, what is NUF? The P is silent. So, it's NASPA Undergraduate Fellowship Program. NASPA is a type of program, or let me see, hold on. It focuses on student affairs. So, actually, right now, there's a conference going on right now. It's a bunch of student affairs professionals just working together. It's a big community of student affairs professionals, and they have this program for undergraduate students that are seeking or interested in student affairs. This program pairs them with a mentor. I'm actually already explaining what NUF is, so I'm just going to stop here and I'm going to let you all continue on what exactly, in your own words, do you think is NUF? I was about to go on a rant. From what I said, what do you all think it is? Or have an idea?
Or if you don't know, it's completely fine to say, honestly, I don't know. Because, I mean, we'll tell you about it, but, do you have, an idea or something?
Have you heard from us? No one? Cool. I know, I was sad tear. Well, we're here. Oh, a program in which you get trained in student affairs ? Yeah, well, you're heading in the right direction, Anna. Thank you for answering. So actually, NUF is, and let it load. Did it load? Because on my end it did.
Little by little.
I'm sorry, it's my internet.
Oh,
Do you want to take this one, Joel, or do I do it?
sure. So NUF is an acronym for the NASPA Undergraduate Fellowship Program. So now you're right in the area. So really, I decided to put its mission. I tried to keep it condensed, but I think really it's important. So the program exists to increase the number of historically disenfranchised and underrepresented professionals in student affairs and/or higher education, including but not limited to those of racial and ethnic minority background, those having disability, and those identifying as LGBTQ. Right. So the program exists to help, get student affairs to be more diverse. Right. So the elements of the program itself is on-campus mentorship. So we've touched base on it. So what that means is you have the opportunity wherever you are as undergrad, you can ask for your own mentor, right? So my mentor is Dr. Hudson, as well as I know Ceci's mentor is Ms. Lopez. All right, but they both work together to help us out as possible. But there's other student affairs professionals like Ms. Tina, Associate Vice President, as well as even Dr. Manita, the Vice President of Student Success. So it's really your choice, right? But because of this mentorship, we've been able to meet throughout this semester and even last semester, and they give us, tips and advice, and as well as, how to even navigate student affairs and even our programs that we're looking at. Ms. Lopez definitely was helping me. So Ms. Lopez is an alumnus of Salem State University herself at the ESA program. And she kind of dropped, she mentioned it. She walked into the office at first one time last semester, and she was like, "Hey, is anybody looking at student affairs?" And from there, it just snowballed, right? Ms. Lopez was able to help me with interview questions, as well as even, just kind of really provide more of a perspective on her experience, right? Because I've never even left the state of Texas before. So that's going to be interesting. As well as there's regional and annual conferences. So Ceci had mentioned it already. There is the NASPA conference going on right now as we speak. It was this week-long event. It was online, of course. That usually it's in person, but that's okay. But it was just as fun. They had keynote speakers of these people in student affairs that do amazing work, right? As well as even have a lot of different conversations, as well as programming events. And I could easily say it's close to 100, if not being dramatic, 50, all happening at once. So there's Greek life, there's resident life, there's all these different conversations, evolving conversations. As well as there's summer internships, right? So that's as well, once you graduate or in between your program, you can definitely do internships at other campuses that are hosting them, right? So a lot of times these internships you can apply for, as well as they house you, right? You work alongside professionals, and depending again based on these internships and the networking you do, you can possibly get a full-time job, right? Eventually in the field. Like how Ms. Lopez just mentioned right now, this week they had over 8,500 people attending the conference virtually, and they're all active, right? They're all chiming in, they're all using the group chats as well as meeting themselves, so it's really great to meet them. As well as there's a Dungi Leadership Institute, And basically, this institute is an opportunity for all NUF fellows to show up, right? And it's a 5-day leadership conference, right? To where you can get mentored and again, work alongside professionals. So that's really the main 4 program elements. But again, really getting the most out of it, you can get a lot of different resources from it. Really, some of the requirements to become a NUF fellow, for the ones that are interested, you have to just have a passion for students, right? A lot of times, for me too, is you don't really know what field you're going to really get into, or really, field, of course, it's going to be student affairs, but what I mean, but what like department or what area you want to get into, and that's completely okay. I first got into it, wanting to pursue Greek life, right? And now I'm looking to, I'm like, wow, there's other components, that I would love to work in, and that's perfectly fine. You'll be able to learn and be able to navigate those options within the program. You do have to have a GPA of a 2.5, as well as a NASPA member must serve as your mentor, right? So Ms. Lopez and Dr. Hudson, and of course, I'm sure there's many other professionals on campus at TAMU that are part of NASPA. So as long as they just have that membership, they can serve as your mentor. So again, you can really choose anybody, right? You can look. I know Miss Myra in the office of Student Content and Community Engagement. She's also a NASPA member. So if you want to work with community service or civic engagement initiatives, that's also another big one. As well as at least have at least 2 semesters left in your undergrad. So when I applied, I had exactly 2 semesters left to be working with it. So that's a little bit about the program, about the NUF program. And again, in between all that, I'm sure Ceci and Becca, they've been emailing us, NASPA's been emailing us, as well as even during its NASPA conference, they even had their own set times, their own set events and activities just for NUF program, or NUF attendees. So that was really great too. So does anybody have any questions regarding the NASPA NUF program? Does anybody seemed interested or like, hey, you know what, let me go ahead and do it? No? No? Okay, that's perfectly cool too, right? So I'll go ahead and pass it over back to Ceci.
What's the next slide? Oh, wait a minute, while it loads. Tell me when
Can I
it
add
loads.
something real quick?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
I just wanted to add on to like the program, like even if you are unsure if like this field is for you, the cool thing about this program is that like you learn about it and like you can see like, is this something that I want to do? So, I mean, just apply for it. You just never know. You might find a passion in something and like, or this might be something that is for you. And if it's not, it's not. But you at least learned about it. You learned the history of student affairs and you learned like what you can achieve within student affairs. So that's like one piece of advice that I have, just in case you all are hesitant. Just still go for it because you never know.
Yes, I can't echo that enough for Becca. Thank you, Becca, for saying that. And I guess more about what we have done, or I guess my experience in the NUF program, because I was also kind of hesitant. I was like, do I really kind of want to do this? And then as I learned more, and my mentor is Miss Lopez, so we would have our biweekly meetings where we would meet, and she gave me this whole packet of what student affairs is, and she's like, here are the departments, super thick. She's like, look over them. This is what like student affairs is all about, and I was like, what? So like she kind of exposed me to what exactly is student affairs and what departments are there, because you have a kind of a perspective or an idea of what it is, but then you don't, it's way bigger than what it actually is. And actually, one cool thing about being student affairs is the networking. So I know Dr. Hudson, he always, whenever he talks about student affairs, he's like, oh yeah, like I know this person, I used to work with him or them or she, and it's like they just built like a lot of, I bet also Miss Lopez has built a lot of like networking, and has met a lot of people that could also help us, and eventually, hopefully, if you will join the NUF program, they will be able to help you and connect with people. So I'm pretty sure Miss Lopez connected Joelle with some people at Salem, right? Just because of just the networking and knowing each other, and she also went through the same program. So it's also the networking. That's also a great aspect of being in the NUF program, and just kind of overall having someone who already knows, that already went through the process and can help you. Because I was so lost. I was like, what is this? And Ms. Lopez was just like, here, let me sit you down. This is what it is. Do you have any questions? And she was like, you have to have questions for me so I can answer. And like she just really helped me overall. So I guess this slide is just your overall. You can a full body pic you could say of the NUFP fellows. So once again, I'm Cecilia. I'm the one on the right, and it's Joelle in the middle, and then Becca on the. Oh, I said it backwards. Becca on the right. I'm on the left. And another perk is you get a polo. Like, I think that's pretty cool. And then once these are our mentors. So Dr. Hudson is Becca's and Joelle's mentor. So I don't know if you want to say a few words on behalf of Dr. Hudson and how he has helped you in the program.
Yeah. So Dr. Hudson was like the person who introduced me to student affairs. And it was actually in the summer, this summer of our orientation. He sat down with me and he was like, "Do you know what the NUF program is?" And I was like, "No, what is that?" And he's like, "Because I think you'd be so good in student affairs." And I was like, "I guess, like, just like I think a lot of us were, well, I mean, I was kind of hesitant too because I was set in stone on like my accounting and like I wanted to be a CPA and everything. Like that was like my goal. And so I was like, yeah, I guess whatever. And I literally I applied like the day before it was due. So don't do that. um advance because like you need a letter of recommendation and I asked Dr. Hudson and he got so mad at me, but he still did it anyway. But he's helped me guide through grad school applications, as well as Ms. Lopez. And I think what's cool is like, regardless of who your mentor is, you work with everybody on campus. So Ms. Lopez has given me so many resources, articles to look at, what schools to look at too, as well as Dr. Hudson. And both of them have preached to me like whatever they can do to help me like achieve my goal in student affairs, like they will. And so I'm so grateful for this program, and I really hope you all get the chance to be a part of it.
Definitely, I kind of want to add on to that, right? Because Dr. Hudson is my mentor. I mean, he is shorter than me, right? But he definitely, he definitely is a man that would definitely push you, right? So he, in a good way, right? He definitely pushed me even further, and like how Becca said, he definitely. What also was great was he looked at what were my passions, right? As well as Ms. Lopez. What are your passions? They definitely they were that ear first, right? That wanted me, like, I was like, well, I want to do all this. I want to be able to tackle these things and whatnot. And they're like, okay. And he was able, to funnel it, right? And he'd be like, okay, well, I think also, like, just like you said, student affairs would be a great opportunity because I was all about Greek life. I still am all about Greek life. Um, and really, like Miss Lopez, like I said, like how I mentioned earlier, I have a very unique, interesting story about my grad program. Really quick, right? Miss Lopez came in last semester and was like, "Hey, I really recommend Salem State. It was an awesome program. Who's interested?" And me and Ceci both looked at one another and were like, "You down?" Right. So, and from there, I had a conversation with Lopez. She emailed the program director at the time, and actually, I went ahead and I reached out to one of my fraternity brothers who's in Houston. And I told him his name is Manny. I was like, he was a teacher. He worked at OLU in San Antonio as an admissions counselor. He wants to be a dean. And I was like, hey, bro, it was kind of up in the air at first. And I was like, let's do it together, man. We'll write up together. And all of a sudden that week, that conversation just fell off, right? The holidays came and January came and he called me one day at like 9 o'clock at night and was like, "Hey, bro, what are you doing? I need you to stop what you're doing. I'm gonna send you a Zoom link, and you need to hop on the call now." And I was like, "Dude, it's 9 o'clock. What's going on?" Hopped on the link, and the program director was there. And he was like, "Hey, we finally have an opportunity to connect." I asked Manny, right, how did he even find out about Salem? And he was like, this my brother Joel Caballero, he's at Tammy, and he was like, "Wait, bring him on the line right now. I've been looking for him," right? And from there, it just snowballed, right? And Ms. Lopez has been a great help really to talking about even how housing, my meal plans, and definitely just kind of just hearing what all Salem's all about. So they were great people to get connected with, as well as they definitely were like, let's start network, and start getting connected with other people. So it was a great experience, crazy experience.
Yeah, when Joel told me that story, I was like, what? I was like, what's going on? And I guess something that I also remembered an opportunity that you get to do if you're in enough program is that Dr. Hudson Ms. Lopez coordinated with other student affairs professionals at TAMU. And get this, we met with Dr. Minita Ramirez, so the Vice President of Student Success. We met with Ms. Gina, which her title is the Associate Vice President of Student Success. We met with Ms. Myra, which is the Director of Student Conduct and Community Engagement. We met with the Director of Residence Life, Manny, all the head departments, and we're like, what's going on? So it was just an opportunity for us to ask them questions, and like being in a room full of like directors and people that were just higher uppers in the university. I was just like, but it was actually a really great opportunity to hear their stories and how they started student affairs, and it just matched. I think Becca, Joel, did you go to that meeting? Not sure. Yeah, just hearing like their stories and how they started, we're like, oh, like we're not the only ones who are experiencing this. Like they went through that too. It's just like they started off thinking they were going to do something, and then throughout their years at TAMU or like in their lives, they ended up in the positions that they are in right now. So that kind of made me feel comfortable knowing that like I'm not the only one that like does not know what to do with their life, and like it's just so uncertain of like their future. But I think everyone goes through that. I think that was really comforting just to hear them like hear higher level people in higher level positions also go through that experience and help me just ask them questions and just get me a better feel of what student affairs is actually about. So I think that's a really cool aspect too. If you do go into the program, you get to meet with higher level position people at the university. And they get to know you, and then maybe you like get to network with them and be like, "Hey, Dr. Ramirez, do you remember me?" And then I don't know, she could like do you a favor or something. But I think that's all that we have for you today. I don't know if you have any questions for us regarding like grad school or like our experience in TAMU, or any more questions that you may have. It could be so random, but I'm gonna stop sharing my screen just so I could see. Okay. I'm gonna make it mandatory for someone to ask one question. Let me give you all time to think. Or you have any more questions on the NUFP program? Or questions from Ms. Lopez? Oh my God, Alberta! Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ignore that question. Next
I
one.
know.
No, just kidding.
Where do I see myself in 5 years? How old will I be? I'm 21, 26. Okay. So hopefully I have my master's in student affairs in higher education, and hopefully I have two options. I either see myself working on a college campus, hopefully like in a setting like maybe like as an advisor, maybe like where Miss Lopez is right now, as an associate director or assistant director of an office. Because most people, I don't know if y'all know this, but most people who graduate from like so they're called SAHI program or student affairs programs, they go directly into like assistant director like positions. Like that's how like legit this can be for y'all. So hopefully I'm in that area, or hopefully I get some experience in student affairs and then go back to teaching. So I don't know. I have a lot of potential there. So I don't know if y'all want to answer that question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, Joelle and Becca?
Definitely. I'm actually excited to answer that question, and I'm sure Ms. Lopez can attest to this, is in Salem in particular. And I'm so excited because Salem is actually 20 minutes on a good day without traffic out of Boston. And Boston is like the hub, right, of student affairs. You have 50 something institutions there. There's Harvard, MIT, Boston College, you name it, right? So the program, I was really excited for it because I'm gonna be so close, right? Like I'm actually originally from San Antonio, Texas, right? I got over that milestone of leaving home already. I know it's only 2 hours different. But now it's like I told my family, I was all like, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna graduate," and I was like, "Oh, guess what? I'm thinking about going to Boston." And they're like, they're like tears, right? They're like, "Oh, we're so happy for you." But a lot of times, I always tell my family, in order for me to inspire my nephews and my family, I have to be able to leave and come back, right? Um, and over there, being a part of getting that amount of experience, right, and being potentially able to see all of these centers that I haven't been able to see it, right, like actually seeing a fraternity and sorority center, seeing a multicultural center and seeing all these different unique opportunities and seeing all this activism. I hope, right? I'm hoping that I'm able to not only acquire a position out there or even just be able to just witness how different student culture is up there. So in 5 years, I hope to, I mean, I don't know where I'm going to be at, but I definitely hope to be elsewhere, definitely practicing. What about you, Becca?
OMG. Um, hmm. Okay, well, my goal, like coming out of this, is like I want to be like um Dr. Minita Ramirez. Like that has like been my goal. And I'm gonna make sure that goal happens. I don't know if that'll happen in 5 years, but it'll happen. Manifesting it at I do see myself like working with higher education, working with college students, being a support system for them, like that's just like think what I've always been meant to do. And so I do see myself there. Do I see myself here specifically in TAMU? Honestly, I don't know. It's like wherever life takes me, honestly. But I do see myself working at a college campus and with students. So hopefully in 5 years.
Hopefully that answers your question, Albert. Moving on. What's the best thing? What's the best thing you have experienced thus far? And do you mean within the NUF program, or like in general, like in college? Okay, in the NUF program. The best thing I have experienced so far, I think I would say, though, I've already mentioned it before, the meeting that we've held with higher level positions, student affairs professionals. So meeting with Dr. Minita Ramirez, she intimidates me. She just her presence, even virtually, I'm just like, oh my god, it's her, because I look up to her. So just meeting with her and other professionals like Ms. Myra. I've worked with Ms. Myra before, and just hearing her story, I was like, wow, like I think that's been my best experience so far. And also me working with Miss Lopez, like one-on-one. She has helped me a lot. Oh my god. And like I cannot thank enough Miss Lopez for her. Like if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would be going to grad school or even like considering student affairs as like a full-time position. So I think that's the best thing that I have experienced so far is like determining that like this is for me, and having other people being there for me and like sharing their stories with me just to like I could have um affirmation or like confirmation, just saying like what you're experiencing is valid. So we'll pass it on to either Becca or Joelle.
The part that I think it was actually just making this presentation, right? So being able to say I went through all 4 years, right? Not 4 years, not to be dramatic, but maybe 3 years, my first 3 years, not knowing what I was going to do. And I did not know that I could, with my degree, enter student affairs. So being able to create this presentation, hopefully we have more, applicants next year, is really to start letting people know that this is it. This field exists, right? And I think that's very important. Like how Becca said too, she's a business major. But if you really go in between the lines, like there's an opportunity for any degree on campus. And once you have your master's too, I mean, being able to even not only work for the institution, but to also be able to teach and even like talk about like social justice or have like a pop justice class or whatever it need be. I just think that was awesome, right? So I definitely would love to see more people. If you have any questions, you can always shoot us a message or let us know. I would love to have a conversation on it. I could talk about it for hours, specifically Greek life. So that was like the best part of it for me.
I guess for me, kind of echoing what Joelle said is like just learning that like regardless of what I'm studying, I can become a student affairs professional. And I heard that also during our undergraduate student conference this past weekend, hearing it from other people, and then we were able to connect in like smaller groups. And I kind of shared with them like I was a little hesitant on like even doing this because I was almost done with my undergraduate degree. Like I didn't go into something that related to student affairs. And one girl was like, I was a nursing major, like, and I'm doing student affairs now. Like it doesn't matter because it's like the experiences that you've made in your undergraduate like career. And like after that is what will make you a student affairs professional. So I think that was just like also hearing it from different perspectives too. I did also like the presentation, like meeting all the directors, but also learning the history of student affairs. Like that was really interesting to me. And not to toot my own horn, but getting the award at the conference. was my favorite thing. So
Yes, snaps for Becca. I think I was gonna record like when they were gonna announce it, but I didn't. But I have a picture.
you know, I actually recorded myself. There was something in me. I was like, let me just record it. So I recorded. I was like, ah. So if you want to see the reaction, I'll send it.
Okay. And then Daisy asked, in one of your presentations talking about the elements, can you briefly talk more about the regional and annual conference? Sure. Okay, so right now there is the NASPA annual conference, and that takes annually, yearly, and usually it has always been in person. Fortunately, because of COVID, we cannot be there right now. If not, I think we would have been in Kansas City, Missouri. That's where we would have been right now. But next year, hopefully everyone's vaccinated. You know, COVID is gone, long gone, Ms. Rona. We will be in Baltimore. And it's just a time where all student affairs professionals who are a member of NASPA get together and just have a big conference. There's a lot of presentations that a lot of people provide, and just about a lot of different topics. I remember we had a conversation, I think about 2 days ago, with Dr. Hudson. He was in an orientation presentation, and he came out of it. He's like, I'm going to change orientation overall. Like, you just learn so many things on it that, like, I think when I attended the NASPA undergraduate student conference this past weekend, I went into a session called So Now You Have an Office, focusing on like Latinx women. So I was like, oh, like that kind of resonated with me. So it's just it was 3 professionals, student affairs professionals, who identify as a woman, who eventually made it up higher ranking. I think one of them was already an associate director of an office, like I think at GW, where Dr. Hudson was. So they were just kind of talking about their own experiences and just saying like, hey, like this is what I went through as a Latinx woman, or just as an underrepresented, being in the underrepresented population, what they have done for students, and just I saw myself in them. I'm like, oh, like this is something that I could see myself doing in the future. And it was just nice being in a setting where like the same people have the shared experiences. So it's just it happens annually every year, and there's also regional conferences. So under NASPA, there are about, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Lopez, 7 regions, 6. I think we fall under Region 3. So Region 3 is Texas, Alabama. I'm like second. It's like a certain regions, like the South region. Um, so there's also regional conferences there, and it's just a huge opportunity for you to network with other student affairs professionals and meet people from across the country, nationwide, even worldwide. So Ms. Lopez was kind enough to put the NASPA link and also the NASPA communities and region and areas. So within NASPA, you can do a lot of things once you become a student affairs professional. Being in a lot of thing we call it knowledge communities, and it's just there's like meetings and you get to meet other people and connect with them from across the nation. It's just I think a really cool opportunity for you to expand your network. So I hope I answered your question on the conferences, Daisy.
I want to add, like, not on the conference, but on the website, especially like talking about grad school, that's where I found different programs. Like I found in higher education, emphasis on like leadership and policies at UTSA, which I thought like UTSA didn't have like a higher education like program, and they do. I just found like a lot of grad schools there. So that's the cool thing about NASPA is like when you become like enough fellow, like you have access to those resources. When those application deadlines close, like you can get reminders on that. And so you can find like grad schools everywhere. And also you can filter out. So like if you want an assistantship with your grad school, like click there and like you can get an assistantship. And that's like one of my perks. What I was looking for was assistantship and even like tuition waived programs, which there's a lot. So that's a good thing about grad school programs. So like if filtering those out and it gives you like all the programs that are tuition waived, assistantship, and like stuff like that. So that's like one of the cool things about being able to get access to that website. And I'm not sure if you can view it if you're not enough fellow. But just check out the website and just look, and you can find so many resources in there. Oh yes, you can. Ms. Lopez sent the link. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any more questions on our journey. I don't know how we ended up in student affairs. If you're not completely sure, I think one thing that Dr. Hudson emphasized is that like once you're in the NUF program does not mean that you have to pursue student affairs. Like I think Becca even mentioned it. And it's just a time for you to say, okay, well, this is for me and this is not for me. So at least you get to experience that. And I think we will go ahead and announce when applications open. I'm not too sure if they're open already, but I know they're due in the summer, either late July or early August. So I think that's when we will go ahead and announce when applications are due. And if you want to like to see a list of who are NASPA members or who you want to consider for someone to be your mentor, we can go ahead and provide that list for you as well. We can ask Dr. Hudson, who at TAMIU is a NASPA member. So I don't know if you'll have any more questions, concerns, curiosities. No.
I just want to add, thank you, Ceci, Becca, and Joelle for a great presentation. I've enjoyed it so far. Everything has been wonderful. Yes, claps for them. For the rest of you, student affairs is such a great field to look into. Very similar, like from their stories. I was an undergraduate student at Sam Houston State University. I was studying to be a music education major. That didn't turn out so well because I can't sing. So I couldn't pass my singing classes. I ended up being a Spanish major and I wanted to be an FBI interpreter. But then it was just a lot of things that they had to do. And I was like, no. So I was very involved though as a student leader. I really was. I founded a dance group. I founded the Sam Houston State Ballet Folklorico. I was just very involved with the leadership programs, very similar to Ceci in the Office of Leadership and Service as an undergraduate student for 2 years. I did leadership programs, service programs for students, and I really found my passion through my own mentor as well, Meredith. She was my supervisor, and so I found a passion for leadership and working with student organizations. And one day I was like, so what do you do? You know, I was in my boss's office and I was like, hey, so what do you do? Because she had like her, you know, her diplomas and her certificates and degrees. And so she told me about the field of student affairs. Like Ceci mentioned, it's not something that you're 5, 6 years old and you're like, I want to be a student affairs professional. It just doesn't happen like that, right? At least for not everybody. And so again, through involvement, I see a lot of your names here and I recognize, I think all of you, you're very involved on campus, right? Either through leadership, Greek life, academics, right? You're very involved. And so I would encourage all of you to at least apply and be part of the NUF program and see if you like student affairs, right? We expose you to workshops every 2 to 3 weeks. We have conversations with you. We mentor you along the way. I'm a great mentor, if you haven't noticed. But we help you and guide you along the way because if you do decide while you're in the NUF program, if you do decide to get into the field of student affairs, then we help and guide you. I mean, Ceci, I don't know, Ceci, if you mentioned, I mean, Ceci got into Texas A&M at College Station. She's pursuing her master's degree in student affairs there, and she will be working in the office of, is it multicultural? What's the exact title, Ceci, of that office?
Yeah, so the assistantship that I got matched with is the Office of Multicultural Services, specifically focusing on Latinx initiatives. So what that initially means, I will also be an advisor for a Latinx student organization and creating just leadership programs and working with the Latinx community at A&M.
Fantastic. So Stacey will be doing a lot of different things within her role as a graduate student, right? While she's in the graduate program. And then like you heard, you know, Joelle will be going to Salem State. I went to Salem State. After I graduated from Sam Houston State, I only applied to one program. My older brother lives in Boston. So I knew that I wanted to get out of Texas, me being a Mexican American, living in Laredo, growing up in Laredo. I wanted to interact with other types of people, other identities, a variety groups of people. So I wanted to expose myself outside of Texas. I applied to Salem State. And I got the graduate retention fellow, which is something that Joelle right now is shooting for, which is you get your master classes paid for. So zero loan debt, right? You don't have to pay for out-of-state fees or anything like that, because I was from out of state, so you don't pay for that. So you get your classes paid for, you get a job on campus. I work for the Office of Diversity and Multicultural Affairs. So that's why I'm very passionate about social justice. It's one of my main passions. And then also while I was there, I had 19 free meals buffet a week. 19. So I had a great deal, which is what Joel is shooting for as well. The only thing I had to worry about was my room, right? I rented a room in a house. And so Salem's a great program. Doesn't mean that you have to go there, but I would encourage you to look at different programs once you are interested in the field of student affairs. So, like Joel mentioned, like Joel, he is just waiting. He already interviewed in 4 different offices. Joel did. And so he's waiting. Hopefully he hears back within the next couple of weeks, well, what office or what he gets. So keep your fingers crossed for Joel. I know Becca, like Becca mentioned, she is looking to Florida. She's definitely looking for a lot of opportunities out there. And I'm sure Becca would definitely find a program that best fits her, right? And so Becca actually got the NASPA award this week, a couple of days ago. I don't know. Today's Thursday, so I think it was yesterday, the day before. Sometime this week, she got the award. And so that's great. So it just goes to show how successful our NUFP program is here at TAMU, right? Mentorship is crucial in student affairs. So I would encourage you to at least apply to the program, and then you'll get accepted. Hopefully, if you do meet the requirements, right, with your GPA, and then you'll find your mentor, and then just find out more information about student affairs. And if you decide to apply, great. And if you don't, at least you get the experience and the knowledge. Oh, thank you. I'm looking at the chat. So that's what I have to say about student affairs. After I graduated from Salem State University, I was in Salem. And the great thing about Boston, I love Boston because there's over 50 universities. So I had 3 jobs at one time. I worked in the Office of Diversity. I worked at Bunker Hill Community College doing research. I worked in another North Shore Community College doing assessment. So you're exposed to different areas and different institutions. And student affairs can be in community colleges. It can be in historically Black colleges and universities. Native tribal colleges, community colleges, big schools, small schools. There's so many options, different countries. If you ever want to work in Paris or wherever you want to work after COVID, right? Everything, once you're able to really fully travel safely, you can work pretty much anywhere you want in the world and be a student affairs professional. As a student affairs professional, you're not just educators, you're advisors, you're mentors. We're counselors, conflict resolution individuals. I mean, we wear a lot of hats, right? So it's definitely a fun field, though. I'm in the field because of the students. The students are the ones who motivate me, inspire me to help them be successful. So I encourage you to apply and just see if you like it, and then take it from there. That's what I have to say.
Thank you for that, Ms. Lopez. I was about to say that, like, student affairs professionals, you are a lot of positions. That's why I saw myself correlating a lot with what I was learning in the classroom as a teacher, implementing it into my time at SOLA while I was working as a student engagement coordinator. So you're a lot of things, and I think it's like a 24/7 job, kind of. You're always there for the students. So I think as we end off this presentation, Ms. Lopez, if you can provide the attendance link, please.
Yes,
If you
of
have any
course.
questions, yeah, if you have any questions or concerns or just want to connect more, Becca, Joelle, and I left our email, and I also left my Insta. Kind of a shameless plug there if you want to connect there. And I kind of just want to end off this presentation as kind of as a reflecting moment, if you will. If you see yourself thriving off of like just helping students overall, or just really enjoy yourself in a college setting and just helping students overall, I think exploring the NUF program is a great opportunity for you to do. Or if anything, just student affairs overall, considering it as an option. You're never too safe with like having a lot of options with your future. So at least you have options, you know? So if anyone doesn't have any more questions, thank you all so much for being here. The attendance link is there. We appreciate y'all for being here, and hopefully we get to see some future potential NUF fellows for the year of 2021, 2022. And I don't know if y'all want to say a few words, Becca and Joel.
Sure. Just thank y'all for being here and sharing this space with us. And I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's week and semester. Y'all are almost there. And for all the ones that are graduating this semester, shout out to y'all. Definitely a huge milestone. And I wish y'all the very best. I hope to see y'all in person soon.
Just echoing what they both said, and don't be afraid to explore the world of student affairs. Do your research if you are still hesitant on like becoming a NUF fellow, and like learn about student affairs on your own. You all are involved, and so you all are future student affairs professionals as it is already, regardless if you're in one organization or like 10. You are like doing student affairs, and so if you love like being involved in like working with different students or like Greek life or just whatever, look into student affairs, because that field is always expanding, and it could use somebody like you. So yes.
For the people who are Greek, this does count as a programming event. So if you had two and we're just missing one, there you go. You have your 3 programming events. Leslie was like, yes, it does. Leslie, I promise I'm going to submit my programming event soon. This is the last one I was missing. Oh, thank you, Nana. If y'all don't have any more questions or y'all just want to stay back and ask it personally, we will be here. But y'all are free to go. Thank y'all so much for being here. And have a great rest of your day, weekend, and semester. Bye, everyone.
Bye, folks.
Oh, Sharon.
Good job, y'all.
Thanks.
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 I'm waiting to see if anyone's going to stay back. Oh, what's up,
Ryan,
Ryan?
Greg, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. They're there.
Which Ryan is that?
Ryan Rubio, he's the vice president of ODFI, as well as Eric is the standards officer for ODFI. Not sure if they have any questions for me, or they probably walked away. And listen.
Ms. Lopez, do you want us to send you the presentation?
Yes, we can save it in our files. Yes.
And then let me send. I also have the pictures.
Okay.
Our pictures. So
Oh, I
I don't
need
know if you
stuff
have
like this.
questions.